Let us discuss the next question now. This is from the year 2017. Which of the following is not a feature of the Indian federalism? So this is very specific to the Indian federalism. What is federalism? Where there are two power centers, one at the center level, the other at the regional level, and the powers are divided between those two power centers, that is the union government and the regional government or the state governments. Now the question is asking about which is not a feature of the Indian federalism. There is an independent judiciary. Yes, the independent judiciary is very much necessary for the federalism, so that if any disputes arise between the center and the states, the independent judiciary can solve it. So it is actually a feature. Powers have been clearly divided between the center and the states. Yes, the powers have to be clearly defined and divided between the center and the states. We have the three lists: the central list, the state list, and the concurrent list, defining the powers and their respective subjects on which they can make the laws. Statement C. The federating units have been given unequal representation in the Rajya Sabha. The seats in the Rajya Sabha are divided based on the population. So because of the population differences in different states have different number of seats in the Rajya Sabha. So this is also correct with respect to the Indian federalism. It is the result of agreement among the federating units. No, this is incorrect, because Indian federation is not formed by the states coming together. It is the union which was there, and the states are divided for the sake of administrative convenience. Whereas in the US, the states came together and they formed the United States of America. So we can say that B.R. Ambedkar in fact said that India is an indestructible union of destructible states, whereas USA is an destructible union of indestructible states. Now coming to the federal features of the Indian Constitution, we have the dual polity, that is the union at the center and the states at the regional level. We have the written constitution, we have the clear division of powers between the center and the states. The supremacy of the constitution is important, so that the central government doesn't act arbitrarily and amass all the powers to itself. The rigidity of the constitution is necessary, so that frequent amendments and changes cannot be made at the expense of the state powers. The bicameral legislature is there, and the independent judiciary is also important. Also, Article 1 clearly says that India is a union of states. We are a federal country, but what kind of federal? We are a federal system, but with unitary bias. So that is why the statement number D is incorrect, because our federation is not a result of agreement among the federating units, which is like America. No, this is the wrong statement. Let us discuss the next question. This is from the year 2021. Which of the following in Indian polity is an essential feature that indicates that it is federal in character? Statement A. The independence of judiciary is safeguarded. Statement B. The union legislature has elected representative from the constituent units. Statement C. The union cabinet can have elected representatives from regional parties. Statement D. The fundamental rights are enforceable by the courts of law. Now, which of the following features show the federal nature of the polity? When we say federal in nature, it means that the powers of the government are divided between the central governments and the state government. So there are two different power centers, one in the center and one in the regional level, that is the states, and the country is managed in whole. What is the main basic feature of the federal character? Statement 1 says independence of judiciary is safeguarded. Now, why do we need an independent judiciary? Will independent judiciary help the federal character of the polity? Yes, because if there are two power centers, there are bound to be disputes between the center and the states. So for us in order to resolve the disputes that are happening between the center and the states, we need an independent judiciary. So this statement makes sense. Statement B. The union legislature has elected representatives from the constituent units. All the people get elected from the constituencies. So just because the union legislature has people getting represented from different constituencies doesn't mean that it is federal in character. The union cabinet can have elected representatives from regional parties. So just because a regional party member got elected to the center, and the union cabinet, the prime minister chooses that person to the cabinet as a minister, doesn't mean that it is federal in character. It's not a very basic feature of the federal system. The fundamental rights are enforceable by the courts. The enforceability of the fundamental rights is totally different matter, and here we are talking about the essential features of federal in character. So this is not in sync with the statements. So the most appropriate answer here is A. The independence of the judiciary is safeguarded. Now let us look at the in-depth explanation. When we say federal in nature, the powers are divided between the two power centers, the center and the regional governments, also known as the state governments. We don't follow a strict separation of powers. We follow a federal system but with a unitary bias. So we are also a quasi-federal system. Because our Article 1 clearly says that India is a union of states. Unlike the US, where the constituent states came together and formed the union, we are an union which are divided into different states for the sake of administrative ease. And what are all the federal features which are there in the Indian Constitution? 1. Written constitution. 2. Division of powers between the center and the states. We have the different lists, the central list, the state list and the concurrent list. And supremacy of the constitution, the rigidity of the constitution, and bicameral legislature and independence of judiciary. Now, why is independence of judiciary so essential for the federal character of the polity? Because the independent judiciary, in our case the Supreme Court, here has the original jurisdiction to settle the disputes between one state on one side and few states on the other side, or the center on one state and states on the other side. So that can be done by the Supreme Court. And the court will act as a checks and balance on the powers of the central government. And it also interprets the provisions of the constitution and solves any disputes which arises between the center and the states. Now the independent court only can balance the power of the centers and the states, ultimately leading to upholding the federal character of the polity. So that's why independence judiciary becomes an essential character of the federal polity. So coming back to our question, answer is A.